to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for Society Now, a show that endeavors to invoke, incite, and bring you good content, riveting content. Let's not be good, just riveting content. And let's be clear about this. This is not
somebody been reading the dictionary.
No, look, riveting, okay? I don't know what y'all got on your SAT, but me in my house, no, I'm just kidding. Riveting content. And you know, this really, I really want to just emphasize, this is not fake news. This is not fake news. And we're not going to give y'all no alternative facts. This is real news with real facts. This is truth, y'all. So tonight we have our special co-host. Our co-host tonight is Kalen Laws, and of course he is the host of G is for Gentlemen, but he's hosting tonight with me, filling in for Allison Guidry. So tell us a little bit about G is for Gentlemen.
So, as my illustrious co-host said, and my beautiful wife said, my name is Kalen Laws. You can follow me on all social media outlets at Senior Wapo 713. That's Senior Wapo, SENORGUAPO 713. G is for Gentlemen. It is a show that loves to have a conversation around gentlemanly content. What does that look like as it relates to style, fashion, travel, cooking, fatherhood, being a gentleman in 2017, especially a black gentleman, a.k.a. Black King. So that's what we all about.
All right, G is for Gentlemen. Senor Wapo in the building. And then we have a beautiful guest host. And I don't know. I know Houston knows who she is. I don't know if the world knows who she is. The world is not enough for her, though. Her name is Crystal Hadnott. Y'all not ready? Hadnott. Y'all had not because y'all asked not. Okay. So anyway, come on now. She gonna go ahead and copyright that. But anyway, so Crystal Hadnott is with us today, and she's a woman that does many things, but I want her to tell y'all a little bit about who she is. She is definitely many things, but let you tell about.
My name is Crystal Hadnott, like she said, and of course you guys can follow me on Instagram at Crystal Hadnott, and that's CrystalHadnott, 2 T's. Well, I am a woman of many things. To break it down short, I tell people my name is Crystal Hadnott. My brand is Running Pretty, and the movement is about changing the world, and my company is Synergy. So I own Synergy, Total Holistic Health and Wellness, which is a health and wellness boutique-style studio. But also in my former life, I was a professor and worked in the government. Worked for the government for 15 years.
Come on, government employee on both sides of it.
I've been on both sides of the game, both in the corporate aspect to government as a lobbyist, but also in the political realm as well.
Okay. Political realm, corporate realm, everybody realm.
Yes.
Crystal does it all. Run pretty, do things pretty. We do everything.
Can I ask the question really quickly?
Sure.
You said run pretty.
Run pretty.
I ran track for almost 20 years. How do you run pretty?
Well, first of all, I don't want you running pretty.
I ain't right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How do you run pretty?
Well, I tell people, really running pretty was something that came about by happenstance. There were two runners that I always admired, and that was FloJo and Gail Devers. Now, those are the original running pretties. FloJo.
I mean, manicure to the T's.
For days,
okay.
And Gail gave you nails that you would just die for.
I mean, both manicure
and
to
both
the T's.
of them wore jewelry at the same time that they broke records and got gold medals. And then my mom was the perfect Southern Belle. So I just really took the women who inspired my running movement and, just they made it pretty. So I decided to add it to me.
Okay. Running pretty, looking pretty. Yeah. Okay. I like it. I mean, and then I think that somehow, in terms of sports these days, a lot of people think that to be feminine and be an athlete is almost like an oxymoron. So I'm glad you took that and went with it. But where do you think that divide comes from when people think that to be athletic as a woman, you can't necessarily be feminine?
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's because honestly, if we're truthful with ourselves, sports is a male-dominant world.
Uh-huh.
No matter how many women come into the play, it is a male dominant field. So, for a female to say that they're an actual athlete, it always take on a whole nother look. So most females who actually came into sports felt the need that they couldn't be too feminine because they probably wouldn't be accepted in that world as a real athlete. So now I just want women to know that you can be a woman and an athlete and still, boss it up in the game.
Absolutely. So, Caitlin, what do you have over there for our Facebook?
So listen, we want to give a huge shout out to all of our Facebook followers and friends. Facebook Live. We ask that you subscribe to our show on all the major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Review our show in iTunes with constructive feedback and share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends. Donate. Again, I say donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate at www.thesphere.tv/donate. We need your coin.
I mean, coins. Well, what was it? We appreciate the money to jingle, but we rather the money to fold.
Come on, Coming to America.
Yeah.
Come on.
Shout out Eddie Murphy.
Folded money. Folded money.
That's like my childhood favorite movie.
Listen, but we like the swipe money too, because
Listen,
everybody's swiping these
everybody
days.
swipe.
Ain't nobody.
This is a digital age.
This is a digital age. When's the last time y'all had cash? When was the last time?
Man, I probably was in high school.
Every time I hold on cash, I feel like it does make you feel different because you don't want to break that. Whatever
Right.
it is, I don't want to break the 10, the 20, the 100, whatever it is. It just makes me feel like it's mine. But when you swipe, boy, you be swiping without thinking. You just swipe
Without
away.
thinking,
Ooh.
unconsciously.
Unconsciously.
Lord, deliver us from the unconscious swipe. Deliver us from the unconscious swipe. So, like you said, you have your business is actually Synergy.
Yes.
And your Synergy is a Pilates studio, right?
So we do fitness, which includes Pilates. A large portion of the clientele is Pilates, but we also do running training, and we also offer nutrition and detox services.
How did you get into that?
Wow. I got into Synergy basically is a combination of different life experiences for me. Synergy first started off mostly from a nutrition standpoint because back when I was in college, I had an incident where my colon stopped working and the doctors were like, this is it. And I was like, well, these doctors, all they did was read books. So I read a couple of books and in the process ended up becoming a nutritionist.
Oh, wow.
Not knowing it would ever be a business. And then a few years later, had an accident and Pilates was part of my therapy. So I took two things that I really enjoyed and things that helped me in my therapy process and create a business around it.
I love that. I love that. You know what? And I feel like we just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. It was talking about create your job or create the career you want. I think that's what it is. I think sometimes people miss it because they actually are operating in their gift or operating in something they're really good at, but they're looking for this, I guess, this look of stability.
Yes.
And when you're pursuing your passion, stability is not going to look traditional, right?
Correct. But then there's also I saw a need in that process. When I was going through my therapy, I was going all over Houston for this service and then had to go across back town for that service. And I was going everywhere for 5 different types of services. So I didn't want the next person to have to experience going all over the world just to get the different services that they needed. So Synergy became basically like a one-stop shop for health and wellness.
And that's business 101. If y'all trying to create a business, please do one that's providing a need, like fulfilling a need. Because if you're not fulfilling a need, your business is probably not going to grow. It might do a little something like little shock value something, but it ain't going to grow because the need has to be there, right? To for longevity.
And it makes it easier to diversify also. Once you're fulfilling a need, you'll be able to forecast what the next need is, and then you can potentially
have a target market.
Absolutely.
My target market was injured individuals because I was an injured individual. So my clientele base was based on injured athletes. I was an ex-athlete. So I built my business based on who I was and a certain clientele. And if other people fell into that fold as extra, that was good. But you definitely have to have a target market as well as serving a need. Absolutely.
So let's talk about you. Okay, so we know that you are a business owner that happens to do many things, like as a nutritionist. You do Pilates instruction, but you do more than just Pilates instruction. Fitness, wholeness, right? Wellness. You talk about the running pretty movement. How many I guess marathons or races, because many people don't know them as marathons. So races or marathons have you ran?
Well, marathons, because if I count races, it's going to be
like we're going to be
billion. So it's no telling. But I actually stopped on the whole 5K, 10K because it's just too much. But marathons, I've ran well over 100 half and full marathons.
That's pretty cool. How often?
In the last 11 years now.
How many times a year do you run a marathon?
Well, this year I've done one full marathon and 8, 9 halves. So, I mean, that's 10 this year.
Mm-hmm. So almost like if you were averaging 10 a year or something like that.
And that's exactly.
Meanwhile, I ran to the car this morning.
And and if people have goals, right, they can kind of work up to it, because like if you can do you work up to a few mini marathons.
But I take breaks in between. So it's not like I'm running a marathon every month.
Right.
So, but like this month I've ran 3 in the last 3 weeks. So,
and that's important. I mean, I guess.
Did you say that again? 3 in the last.
I've ran a half marathon every weekend since October 29th, 28th.
Jeez Louise.
The last 3 weekends.
Do you feel like vindicated after you run? Like, is it a victory run for you?
Man, let me tell you, I feel like Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Because the reality is, once you put your body through a certain level of turmoil, you realize that once you actually cross the finish line, especially after doubting yourself, because generally you go through a point when you're running, you're like, oh Lord, I'm not gonna finish. Mm-hmm. But once you do accomplish something that you set out and you train for and put so much of your energy into, it is a sense of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, for me, it bleeds into my life. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, if I ran 26 miles this week, surely I can get beyond this project today.
26 miles. Yeah.
So it really kind of gives you the motivation to kind of go through your week. It's like these little projects that you're talking about, spend a couple of hours on when you didn't ran 5 hours. Mm-hmm. Surely you can accomplish that.
How did you really get into running though? Like, because I think that's a goal for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people like, I'm gonna run today, and they were like, okay, and I ran to the car. But I mean, it's like, I feel like it's definitely mental discipline, right?
It's definitely mental discipline. And I tell people, I never expect anybody to have the same push as I have, because basically my push was, I wanted to prove the doctors wrong. Mm-hmm. I was paralyzed from hip to foot on my entire left side. And doctors was like, you're going to have a cane for the rest of your life. And I was in my 20s, and I was like, that's not sexy, and I'm not going to do that.
Come on, not sexy?
Not sexy. So decided to, you know what? I'm not going to just run a 5K. I'm going to run a marathon.
Okay.
And then I ran another one because I actually accomplished it and it felt good.
Yeah.
So just end up running endless marathons.
I love it. I love that.
Well, you said having a cane in your 20s was not sexy.
Not sexy.
Not sexy.
But I'm gonna tell you something that is sexy, and that's having a fun and fulfilled financial picture. And in fact, this portion of the show is sponsored by the Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the U.S. offer financial education? 33%, or more than 77 million Americans, don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com and ask how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial services.
That's important.
It is.
I mean,
that's sexy.
That's sexy. And let me tell you, and if you don't have your stuff together, don't be ashamed about it. Like, but just kind of start incrementally, like we were talking about. Like, it's a little bit at a time. Like, that you having issues with paying your bills on time. Create an arrangement. Start working on your debt. You know what I mean? Start doing things to put yourself properly set up, because everybody doesn't have excess or increase of finances, but you make it work, right? Yeah. Maybe you need to start evaluating what are the things that you don't need anymore, and that's a legit adult decision. But again, an adult decision, it's a very mature decision. So you need to contact the Houston Housewives of Finance. So these ladies are amazing, and they're really doing it with the whole person in mind and the whole family in mind, because a lot of times, especially as women, we think about everybody, right? And so they're probably thinking about things that they've experienced in their life and trying to extend it and pay it forward. So I think that's amazing.
I agree.
That's totally amazing. So we know Crystal as an author, and I know that you're an advocate for wellness.
Yes.
But I also heard that you were an author and a speaker. So I would love to hear more about you being an author and a speaker.
Well, the book, The Finish Line, was just the start. I told people it has everything and nothing to do with running.
Okay, I love it. Come on.
So letting people, I know you guys heard the quote over and over again, life is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Absolutely.
But I always like to play on it and say it's not a sprint or a marathon. It's like a relay race. Because once you get through one finish line,
now, and you got to
pass the baton, go. Now it's something else you're dealing with. So
you done changed my life with that.
Yeah,
relay
it's a relay race, man. So you either, I tell people, so the finish line, the book is The Finish Line, is just a start. And it really is, because people think once you cross that finish line that you're done.
And you're never
you're just
done.
beginning, man. You're just beginning. So you either, in life, when you're doing this relay, you're literally making this loop in this constant cycle of you're coming out, going through, in the process, preparing, pass the baton, waiting, pausing to the next thing. So people have to understand there's a constant cycle. And as long as you know that there's a constant cycle, you can be prepared for that and just not know like, oof, I'm done.
And that's so important. That's so important because I think a lot of people, this goes back to the discipline to be whatever you want to be, especially as a runner. You take the analogy of what it is to run, but like you said, it's not just the finish line; it's the next step.
It's the
what
next
happens because it's like after you win, what else?
But even after you run a marathon,
it's something else.
There's a recovery period.
Right. It's like something you have to go through something. You just can't up and just do whatever you want to do.
I don't get up and run another marathon the next day.
I would hope not, because I don't think you would be here with us right now.
So I tell people there's steps and process, and that's kind of where the speaking came about, because a lot of people just looked at it like, oh, Crystal, she's a runner, oh, she does this, but it was more so, explaining people it's beyond the Instagram, filtered pictures that they get. There's a lot of ugly behind the pretty.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so really having people to understand that it's beyond running a marathon. It's beyond being an athlete. It's making these same principles applicable to everyday life.
Absolutely. I totally dig that. I can dig that. How about you?
I can dig it. You said something very powerful, Crystal, and that there's a lot of ugly behind the pretty.
There's ugly behind the pretty. That's book 2.
Okay. Hey, there it is. There's book 2. Y'all heard it already. But
come on, book 2?
Book 2 in the works. So tell us about the ugliness of the writing process.
Well, the ugliness of the writing process is real. I tell people when I'm writing a memoir. So basically I'm reliving stories of my life. And the ugly is that there's a lot of hurt, there's pain, there's scars and bruises that you have to revisit. The pretty is that you get a chance to heal all over again through this process and grow, and really just kind of high five yourself, because you be like, dang, that happened to me.
And I'm still here.
And thriving,
right.
Not just surviving.
Right.
There's a part of the book where I said, I became a veteran that's surviving. And you don't just grow, you glow. And I always tell people, and I wanted people to know that I was a real person, because you may see Crystal, she runs 100 marathons, and it doesn't seem realistic to the average person. But I want everybody to know that I'm just like the next person. I go through heart, I go through pain. There's situations that happen, and everybody do not post that picture on that day.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not taking a selfie on my bad day posting it.
I might post the one from last week that y'all didn't know that I took.
Just to let y'all know I'm still here.
I'm still
but
here.
It ain't the reality of that moment.
Right.
And so it's really just helping people understand that, this is the real authentic me. I want you to be able to know me, but I also want you to want to give you the freedom to do the same.
Absolutely.
Because there's healing and power behind telling a story.
Absolutely. I love that. I love it. I can't wait till the book comes out. Dropping that book. Where can we find the book, or where can we pre-order the book?
Right now you can pre-order the book at crystalhadnott.com. It will be on Amazon and every other digital space in January.
Okay, January.
Yes, January. There will be a book signing coming up January the 6th. The book will be actually released January 1st, but those that pre-order, if the book is available ahead of time, they will get it before everyone else.
Okay, so y'all need to make it a happy holiday.
Yes.
And y'all go ahead and pre-order that book.
Go ahead and pre-order that book.
Be prepared.
I love it.
Be prepared. Be ready.
Be ye also ready.
Well, I mean, it's a good book to really just start your new year off because in there, like I said, I give real life lessons.
Yeah.
The book is set up in chapters based on as if you're running through a marathon with me. Because what people don't understand, when you're going through a marathon, there's this roller coaster of emotions and feelings that you go through. I tell people because it's like you walking up to the start line. It's like the first day of school.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like that in your life. You know, you get this new project. You have this new business. You know, everything's good. But then you start questioning yourself because mile one, you be like, ooh, I got 25 more of these miles.
I got to
Can
keep
I do
going.
it? So, you know, I really go through the steps because there's even a part like when you at mile 22 where they talk about hitting a wall, and we all hit walls in life. So just really just walking you through the process of what it feels like to run a marathon, but really talking about what that means in your everyday life.
Absolutely.
And how to actually come through that.
I love it. I think I'm really
excited. On personal finish line.
I think it's exciting. I think it's great that you are able to share your own journey to get people to get through theirs, and understanding that the journey, like you said, is almost you don't want to sound like negative, but it's never ending because it's always levels, right? People say it's levels to this thing. It's levels to this thing. You don't ever want to stay on the same level, right? You want to you want to level up.
Yes.
So you have to be prepared for that. So I love it. I'm excited about the book.
And I tell people that's the cool part. Always when I do speaking engagements, I hand out glow sticks, and they all look at me crazy, right? They're like, why do we have these glow sticks? And as soon as I start, I say, everybody, you know, to make a glow stick shine, you have to break it.
You have to break it, yeah.
That's us. That's our life. Like sometimes we got to be broke down for our shine to really come through.
Come on, break down.
So I always tell people, you know, that's really just how life is. So sometimes you're going to go through these stories, these ugly parts of your life, but in the end, you're going to shine.
Absolutely.
Good,
I love that.
That's
I
good,
love
Crystal.
that. Yeah. So this is great.
It is.
And I'm enjoying this because I see you guys are former colleagues, and
colleagues.
Well, y'all really
in a way,
in a way, kind of, sort of, in a way.
Yeah, well, you know, she was one of my in grad school, one of my professors, one of my teachers, and we just
make me sound so old.
No,
I was a very young professor.
Yeah, and so you know we kind of clicked, and both of us jokingly we say oftentimes that I'm the male version of Crystal in terms of the hustle and the hustle, you know, the hustle and the irons in the fire, and so I can really respect that, you know, and I know for me, it's kind of almost accepted or what's what I'm looking for. It's kind of almost a given that men are supposed to hustle. Men are supposed to get out and work and get their knuckles deep and dig deep.
Exactly.
And that's a part of manhood, right? But how, with being a woman, how do you continue and maintain femininity with also being hustling and grinding with the big boys?
I tell you, well, the beauty of growing up poor, I didn't have another option.
Come on, you learn how to listen to that.
No doubt.
You learn how to be very resourceful.
Exactly. I mean, I tell people people always talk about the disadvantages of poor and growing up without resources. To me, I look at it every day as an advantage because it taught me my hustle. It taught me how to do without certain things, and I didn't need all the extra to get to my end goal.
Right.
So it made me a very resourceful, you know, nonstop.
Make it happen.
I mean, just make it happen type person. Like there was no other option available to me.
I mean, because you use what you have to get where you need to
go.
go.
I grew up with all brothers.
Well, that works too.
Yeah, right.
That works.
Oh man, that guys had it hard.
I'm in the middle of two boys.
Yeah.
Can't believe that.
Oh, okay. Well, then you had protection and aggravation at the same time.
More aggravation. More aggravation, that's for sure.
That's so funny. Well, this portion of the show is sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming atmosphere that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We are committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and a friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are part of our family. Dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Baptiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Ashandra Baptiste at Elite Dental Wellness at 713-789-8680. Again, the number is 713-789-8680. Dr. Ashandra Baptiste at Elite Dental Wellness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Getting that smile.
I
Yeah,
must
go on
say, get that smile on.
Go
Get that smile
I
on,
love it.
girl.
I love
Yes.
it. Yeah,
Smile,
baby.
baby.
It's
Smile.
important. See, this. I mean, y'all need to take care of this. I mean,
Man.
keep them clean. Go see
Get
the
your
dentist.
grill right.
You
know,
cannot be a part of running pretty moving with bad teeth.
But bad teeth.
Listen,
I mean,
it-
and incrementally, do what you can when you can. but
Right.
Start with the cleaning.
Yeah, start with the cleaning. Brush regularly. Your
Start
tongue,
with brushing regularly.
Right.
all
And
that.
brush your tongue.
And if you eat right, it
and
might
floss.
cut down on some of the
Right.
stuff issues you have in your mouth anyway.
Exactly.
And your dental health is connected to your heart health.
It
so
is.
y'all need to take care
Very
of
You
yourself.
know, G's for Gentlemen, we stress to all of the guys, all of our listeners and followers and viewers, the importance of hygiene, especially oral hygiene, because you hit it right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
There's a direct correlation between your thoracic and cardiac health and your oral hygiene.
Yeah, and it's very close to your brain, and that's
Right.
the
That's
reality
true.
of people. If once you catch
Bacteria.
an infection
Yep.
and bacteria inside of your mouth, that is an easy track to your brain.
Y'all wasn't ready for all this information we
No,
just
it's not
gave y'all,
ready.
but y'all gonna take this home and y'all gonna go see somebody because there's some dental specialists will see you on a budget. They will help you on a budget,
Yeah.
y'all. They will. There are some people very committed, especially here in Houston because of post Hurricane Harvey. A lot of people are willing to just really kick in and help people. Okay, so let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about what's going on in the news. It's a lot of weird but lovely stuff going on in the news, and we gotta.
There is some weird stuff going on.
We're
in the
some weird
news.
stuff going on in the news, but we like the news because it's crazy, and we want to just circle back real quickly. So let's circle back and talk about what's been happening the past month. The past month, we've heard the cry from Hollywood that people are going out crazy or have been going crazy with the sexual assault.
Yes.
It's been ongoing for years, absolutely years, and it's not a safe place. They say Hollywood has just never been a safe place, but now everyone's speaking out about it. What triggered this was Harvey Weinstein, and it's funny that he was the trigger. You would have thought that the trigger would have came a couple of years back with Dr. Cosby, but it didn't. So we've had all types of people. Message.
Okay,
So we've
I'm
had all
sorry, I
type
had to say
of yeah. Everybody got quiet then. Nobody wanted to say anything then. Okay, so now we have Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., Oliver Stone, comedian Andy Dick, Steven Seagal, Ben Affleck. I mean, on and on and on and on. Now we have Ryan Seacrest being accused. They threw Russell Simmons in the bucket. And both Simmons and Seacrest have recently denied that there was anything going on. It was like, that's not even part of who we are. We strive not to be those persons. And I don't know anything about Ryan Seacrest. I don't follow him like that. I know he kind of owns everything on E! Network and every other show that's on TV. It seems like.
Need a host? Call Ryan.
Call
Right.
Ryan. I mean, he's like all over the place.
Or Ryan, call us.
Right. But Russell Simmons, he's the yogi, right? So he seems to be the guy who's like not that person. And, we want to believe that Uncle Russ is not that guy. So it's interesting how he was thrown in the mix with that conversation. But also a familiar name has been added to the list just recently. And I mean, it's sad because we know this man has history. And it's Bill Clinton.
Yes.
So little Bill Clinton, I'm saying not little, but former President Bill Clinton was thrown in the mix by four that claimed that he sexually assaulted them after he left office. And this was when he was doing some work with this billionaire guy, and it was on this private jet named F1.
Yeah, Air F1.
Air
Yes.
F1. Y'all, now I don't know what to say about this. Like, what do you think? I mean, it's Bill Clinton.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate because he has a history.
Unfortunate, but he has history.
Yeah.
So we cannot deny history.
Yeah, it's
right.
like,
You said it perfectly, Crystal. It bodes to us and to people and to whomever really looking into this because fam has had sexual misconduct before.
Yes.
Documented.
and he denied it at first.
And he denied it at
Why
first.
in the highest power in our country?
Yeah. And so it's totally unfortunate. But again, as we spoke last week and as we've been speaking all over these past few weeks, I'm glad all of this is coming out because it needs to.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be more of an education piece.
Agreed.
Because I think, although I'm not belittling it at all, I think a lot of it is due to just, like I said, the powers to be, that the heavy male dominance and male leadership in certain roles. And some of these men even said that I didn't realize that that's how I was coming off.
And so that's what makes it interesting because a lot of guys don't recognize that some of the things that they do may be very offensive.
Very offensive.
And it's a learned behavior.
It's learned behavior.
And a lot of women don't feel empowered to say, early on in their life, hey, that's inappropriate. So if you continue doing something and no one says anything to you, I'm not saying
it's
that
a miseducation on both male and female.
It's miseducation. It's definitely miseducation.
Because women are also educated to be inferior.
And that was going to be my next point.
To not say anything and to act ladylike. And if you do anything, that the reality is that you'll come off offensive, you'll come off unladylike, aggressive and angry black woman, especially if you're a black woman. You're not allowed to have voice. Exactly. You're not allowed to have voice. And I think it's a conversation to be quiet.
And it's so funny because it's in the corner. And if it's so funny, like for your experience, you were raised with brothers. I didn't really have a brother connection close to me, but I have Kalen, right? And he's my husband, but he always tells me, why don't you say this? Why don't you say that? I was like, you don't understand where I'm going. I can't necessarily say that. I have to kind of edit it, and I can't say it the way you would say it because you're in a different position as I am. Yeah. And it's the understanding, I feel like, in environments that people need to understand. Women just can't up and say what they want to say without repercussions.
Well, I tell people, and they laugh at when I say it started back when boys were forced to be the ones to send, ask a girl out. That's when we started the behavior. It was upon the boy to ask her to the dance. That's when the boys were given voices and the women were choose to make a choice between who actually asked her. And she what was her choices? Allowed to go ask nobody, but she had to just take the choices of what was coming to her.
And then so this goes back to another conversation we were talking about recently. We had a conversation about do we think it's wrong or abnormal for women to be the ones who propose marriage and for women to be, to step out of the traditional roles. And I think, again, we can't really comment on, because some of that all comes from a place, right? Because I don't want to wait for somebody to ask me and all that. But at the same time, there is a balance to it all. There's a balance to it all. So somehow the scales have to be balanced. I'm not sure. This is a start.
This is because people talking about it, actually saying something, because it's super important. If you feel a certain way, regardless of what people think, you have to speak up and say something. Absolutely. If you feel like you're being, especially assaulted. I
mean, there's flat out policy that's directly related to, and we all are fully aware of that. That you go through the proper channels when you are, when you feel like you've been sexually assaulted, and not necessarily in a violent way, because sexual assault, I think a lot of guys, again, speaking from a male standpoint, it blew my mind when I first got into the workforce. Like, seriously, and you go to HR and watching the videos, and they telling you that just a pat on the shoulder can be considered sexual assault and make a woman feel uncomfortable. Exactly. And I'm like, wait, it's a pat on, so as guys, oftentimes we don't, and I'm not excusing the men that do it, right? But like you said, it's a miseducation. And it
can be both ways, because I was in an environment where there was a Muslim man. I am not, as a female, allowed to touch a married Muslim man.
Right.
I learned that through my missteps, because I'm a hugger. So I went and grabbed him, because we were taking class together, and he was like, don't touch me.
Right.
So it could be taken both ways.
Right.
You just really have to be educated.
Yeah, you have to be educated. And there's so many different, we live in America where there is not there's not one or two specific types of people and groups of people and thought processes, and we're not necessarily trained, like you said, to be a certain way. So we have all people here with all types of sensitivity that come from all different backgrounds, and so we just cannot take that for granted. So thankfully we do have these measures in place to say, hey, this is you're out in case you feel violated. But then how do we balance the scales for those who don't know they were violating, especially if it is in a non-aggressive manner, if it is just a tap, touch, whatever, and it's not overt, like a like what I'm saying,
rope or something.
And we don't know,
and have real standards for when people are.
And have real standards.
Some of these people, there's pictures to prove that.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally
absolutely.
Absolutely. So for those individuals, because I know a lot of people think that if I say something or report something, nothing's going to happen to this individual. So it's also us actually having a cause and effect when individuals do act in certain manners. Absolutely. That's enforced. Absolutely. Regardless to who they are.
And we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Man. Well, now we want to shout out congratulations to Tyrese. He recently was the judge dismissed a domestic violence order against Tyrese, and his judge was pretty much saying there's not enough evidence against his ex-wife. It wasn't 100% could be substantiated, that some of the things she was claiming could be real. She didn't have enough proof.
Right.
She said that he spanked the girl a certain amount of times. He's like, it was like once or twice, and it's all about perception. It's all about, sensitivities. It's all about where you are. The timing of it was a little off. I think the judge probably documented that. And this is me and my legal brain, y'all, because I'm like, y'all, you were divorced for a long period of time, but all of a sudden when he gets remarried, all of these allegations come out. And it's just interesting to see how the shift happens. But he was very, just like our circle back, he was very, he went very public with some of the things that were happening. And although it was extreme to me, because it was a lot for me to digest on a daily basis, I was like, brother, I really want to tell you to shut your social media off when you go through this. If that was his only outlet, then you have to let people have their outlet. So I just, congratulations. I hope it works out for him and his daughter. And it was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, and prayerfully it doesn't come back up again.
Man, and I'm just glad it's over with, because I'm tired of the nuclear
meltdowns.
Yeah, meltdowns, but also the nuclear unit of society coming under attack.
Yes.
Right? And that's family.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, me as a father and as a husband, I'm very sensitive to that.
And family is so important.
Man.
So important.
And I think that, we don't have this privilege right now to be under this type of scrutiny.
No, we don't.
No.
God, no.
But we also need to be, that was part of the conversation from before. We also have to be careful when you do have that type of platform. You have to make sure that you kind of insulate yourself from a certain level of scrutiny too, because some things don't necessarily need to be public.
And in the end, there's a child involved.
Right. And at the end of the day,
there's
and that child is,
and
that should be priority.
Yeah,
right.
Priority.
There's a child involved,
regardless to how each mom, dad emotionally feel about certain situations.
Absolutely,
there's a child being involved emotionally, physically, psychologically.
Yeah, it's a lot, and you need to consider them in this whole mess as well. Now, there's something else going on, and I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see Get Out. Did you see Get Out?
No.
Oh, my goodness, Crystal.
I don't watch TV.
Get Out was a movie.
Well, we're not the same thing.
Crystal say she be running these marathons, 100
marathons on the weekend, and I hustle during the week.
She got 15 jobs.
Time for 50 TV and movies.
No, well, you know what? I actually went and saw it, and the reason why I saw it when it came out the beginning of this year, because I wanted to see it, because I was like, this movie is grossing a lot of money, and I watched the actual comedy stand-up from Key and Peele, and I enjoy their stand-up. So I was like, let me see what this movie's about. I can kind of assume what I thought it was about, but when I saw the movie, I was like, okay. And I had this conversation. I was like, I don't necessarily know if we as African Americans or people that were supporting the movie, I think it was more of other people supporting the movie because they really wanted to see this guy's thought process of what he thought they did to us. Yes. Right. And so now the Golden Globes nominated the movie for an award, and they nominated the award for a comedy.
Yes.
And he's like, that is absolutely not.
It's not a
the
comedy.
Genre in which it should have been classified.
I didn't see the movie, but I definitely know it's not a comedy.
Like he was like it was supposed to be like he said first it started off to be a horror movie, and then it was like, no, it's like a thriller. He was like, so I can settle on thriller, even documentary for some people. Right. He was like, but not a comedy, because there was nothing about that movie I found to be funny. And that lets me know, back to my thought process, the people who went to see it that made it gross almost $300 million, how they viewed it. Because it was nothing comedic about it.
Yeah, and also you got to understand, when you're talking about Golden Globe Awards, there are reviewers. And those reviewers, unfortunately, don't necessarily look like us most of the time.
Right. Most of the time.
I think I've met one African-American reviewer. One, and they probably... And I've been in the industry...
For a minute.
For the last year and a half, and I met one.
And that's not enough. Because there's way too many movies coming out. That's one reviewer per 1,000 movies. Like, that's not enough. We need
one.
Then no, that's not gonna work. Yes. Okay, real quickly, let's just get into this sponsorship. This portion of our show is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. Again, the number is 832-772-7789, or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. You don't want to miss out on this opportunity, y'all. This is a great platform to get your information posted, hosted, or whatever else on. Just want to get it on here. So check us out at thesphere.tv. So back to, what all the injustices that are happening are in the world. And of course, I thought that Get Out thing was crazy, because I really don't think that the movie should be classified as a comedy. It was really quite disturbing that they even could.
When you look at it, they
comedic.
don't,
it's nothing funny about it.
It just underscores the fact that they, as Khaled says, don't take us seriously.
And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate.
It really is unfortunate.
It really is unfortunate. Now let's talk about this. This is another big story in the news. I call it Mirror Mirror. So this anti-LGBT lawmaker, who is, really anti-LGBT, was resigned after he was caught having relations with a man. Now, y'all know, I feel like we've heard this scenario before. Like, funny. How many comedy
that
stories?
That go to Globe for comedy right there.
That's comedy, because haven't we heard this before? Like, people like this? Like,
and I tell people, but in real life, like, if anybody is going way too hard in one direction, it's generally because of their own transgressions.
They were trying to run from something. They're in denial. I'm like, so
if you with your husband and he think you cheating, it's because he's cheating.
Because he's, like, why are you so insecure? Why you always want to check my phone? Why you want to check my phone?
Right.
Like, but because you live in file.
That was really just a display of,
he was hiding.
Everything will come to light.
And this thing came to light.
It came to light.
And this man had to resign. And he was like, I'm so sorry for those people who, my peers. I'm like, the fact you had to even apologize for that, because y'all were all the same. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And so you were sitting there lying on a regular about what you believed.
And it's a good conversation about living your truth, right?
Yeah.
Living your truth.
Like, live your truth.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah.
Right.
Legally.
But live your truth.
Yeah.
Because who you are is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when others have, whether it's a belief system or whether it's a moral code or what have you, there's no reality. I mean, it doesn't matter. Live your truth.
And that's another topic I always talk about, and that when I say I talk about running, but not by running, but I always ask people the question: are you wearing the right shoes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, are you wearing your shoes, or are you wearing somebody else's shoes? Are you wearing Nikes and you really supposed to be on the runway? Like, are you wearing stilettos and you're supposed to be on the pavement? Like, are you wearing the right shoes?
Because you're not really dressed for the party you're supposed to be attending.
Are you being you, or are you being somebody else?
Right.
To be yourself.
Take the costume off.
And so
be yourself.
Right, for the representative Wes Goodman, man, in Ohio, I hope that he learns from this.
Yeah,
I hope that he learns from this and he moves forward, because I'm telling you,
what place is there for him to go now, though?
Nowhere.
It's gonna be hard, because the LGBT community
will come hard at him.
They are a hive. They're like the beehive, right?
Absolutely.
They are the beehive.
They are the beehive, right? And so
right, they are the hive.
They're the original hive.
They are the hive,
right? And so you cross that community, it especially in public service,
because there's no in between for you. There's no in between place for you.
So I hope he can find somewhere to rebound and recover.
Well, he might get some counseling, because there's some counseling groups, some therapy for that. There is therapy for that, because that's some identity disorder stuff, and there's a lot of things with that. Now we're gonna skip down just a little bit, and I want to talk about what I call responsible citizenship. And I don't know if we followed, but last week we've heard that the House passed the tax reform, I believe it was. And it was right before they passed it. Like 100 or 200 of the wealthiest people in the U.S. came together, wrote a letter, and was like, hey, y'all, don't try to cut our taxes. We have money to pay. You can actually probably even hike us up a little bit, help the other people out. And it's so funny how pervasive greed is, because they went forward with that plan anyway, knowing who was going to hurt. Exactly. What do you think the motive is about really those persons who are saying, I think it was pretty bold, hey, listen, we're coming together as a group saying we don't need this tax cut. It's going to hurt our economy. What's the motive behind pursuing something like this, knowing it's going to put a detriment pretty much on the majority of the nation?
Greed is disfiguring.
It is. I love that disfiguring.
That's what I always tell people. Greed is disfiguring.
It's disfiguring.
And it lets you know that power is viewed in a higher regard than money. We always say money is power. No, power is power.
Power is
And
power.
really, at the end of the day,
That's good, 'cause
unfortunately,
money can't buy power.
That's all he really has right
Exactly.
now. So he can't get a lot of things, you can't say he doesn't have power, but
No.
you can say he doesn't have a lot of stuff. Like you can kind of say he doesn't have respect as a president, and a couple other things. But the one thing he will not allow you to say is he does not have the power.
No, he makes
knows that's his thing, and so he will do anything to make sure that you understand that at the end of the day, I have my power.
I'm in control.
You cannot take that one thing away from him.
And it's just an interesting thing because we're in a society now where we've seen our 44. He was very active socially, but with constraint, right? He was like, "This is who I am, but I'm still going to limit my interaction because I still want to keep up this even tone with everyone."
Right.
This is not necessarily the tone that 45 is taking, and so to see that he was really pro these tax cuts, tax reform, and did not, I guess not to me for the majority of the people. You're thinking about the 1%. 1% out of 100 is not a lot of people, y'all. So you know what I mean? So it's like
1%.
It's 1% out of 100%. So I'm like, we all did math.
It's
like
the one law he can say that he actually got passed. So he
He needs a win.
ran for president. He need a win.
He needs
because
a win.
a lot of
politically.
the things he ran, the platform he ran on, is not coming to fruition.
the divisive platform. It was very divisive.
So he needed a win.
He did need a win, and I mean, I don't necessarily know how long it's going to stand, but he needed a win.
It won't. We got
Because it's
midterms coming up next year.
This is time.
I really think that the D's.
We did pretty good too last month.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
did.
know.
November.
Yeah, we did. We did
We
good.
did.
So
We did
hopefully
really
that
well with it,
starts turning some things around. Now let's talk about this forfeiture. Now it's almost. I know this is might be hard for you, babe, but there might be a forfeiture of the Dallas Cowboys by owner Jerry Jones because a lot of NFL owners are coming together to say, hey, this man violated a rule, an article in this, the articles that they've created. I think it was this Article 8 of the NFL's Constitution and bylaws, and saying, listen, he did not blank. He's not supposed to abridge their freedoms as football players, and he's pretty much trying to keep them from being who they are. And with that, they're about to potentially vote on whether or not he's going to forfeit his rights as an owner. I would love to see how this goes down because to me, some of the things that have happened in the last few weeks, it was the domino effect. It was Jerry Jones and then it was Bob McNair. And I was like, what the heck is going on, y'all?
Between this and 2020 and Dateline, it's about the only thing that I'm watching, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so here for it. I am the
I'm
biggest.
here for the story.
Listen, I am the biggest Cowboy fan that I know. And I know
My
quite.
family is.
I'm originally from the Dallas area. I grew up watching the Cowboys. I'm a 80s made, 90s raised.
He has a Dallas Cowboy Corvette.
They don't have a Corvette.
okay.
No, don't have a Dallas Cowboy Corvette.
Okay.
But
He's a real
I'm a
MVP.
Cowboy historian.
He should get
and
that.
I went
own it, though.
on
Okay.
public record and let everyone know that I said I will not watch the Cowboys until Jerry Jones is no longer the owner.
Yes.
I mean,
And so I'm so here for this right now because when I was talking to a good friend of mine who played in the league for 7 years, he hit me to this, saying that, listen, that there are some, because he's still very much involved with his former franchise that he retired from. He said, listen, there are circles in the league right now that are not colluding, that's the wrong, but they're getting together saying, listen, we don't like what Jerry did. We do not, because we don't give our players an ultimatum like that, because we are about freedoms and liberties. You see what I'm saying?
And at the end of the day, the players are the ones that's making the money.
Right.
and it's so unfortunate because when isn't this parallel to what happens in modern workplaces across the United States though? Because there's some employees going with their freedoms, but because they know how the boss or the CEO feels about certain things, they don't have a voice anymore. So they become, a part of the furniture. You know what I mean? They be like, I don't really know if I can do this at work.
America,
yeah, and I'm
at
saying
the end of the day.
and exactly. So we think about just because they're on the field, they don't. This is definitely mimicking what we see in the corporate workplace because this is not any different. I mean, I know from my own personal experiences going to work and knowing that people feel a certain type of way about you, kind of like, okay, well, I know I can't do these things, although it's not illegal and there's nothing wrong with it, and it's definitely my freedom. I know because someone has an opinion about it who is higher ranked than I am.
Right.
I can't necessarily say or do certain things, and it's not even about being politically correct because I'm like, it's not even that. It's just those person's opinions matter if you want a job.
Exactly.
And no one should have to play with that type of fear. I don't think you should have to work with that type of fear.
Exactly.
So it's unfortunate. I'm hoping that we see some movement on this to see how it really goes down.
Man, I really do.
Now, in that same thought process, Papa John's guy, a couple of weeks ago, he came out talking about how whatever he thought was happening. And now he delivered his apology and with a FU sign, a middle finger, pretty much saying that he's not with the white nationalists and all this stuff. And he did this whole grandioso thing. Do y'all think that's sincere? Or is that kind of like him he felt bad and he's eating crow now? Like, is that sincere?
I really think it's sincere. And I'm really hard on people right now as it relates to all of the NFL protesting. I'm for the movement 100%, 1000%.
I just didn't think that he thought people would actually react to him the way they did.
Exactly. I don't think he knew his pool was that big. I don't think he knew what he was getting into. I really feel like fam just was like, I'm upset because I'm losing money.
But I think you have to use, but then you have to use wisdom, and maybe it's just me because
Agreed.
I'm like, when you know that you're not
emotions to take over.
Right, you're not Sally that working a Papa John in the back,
bro,
flipping dough in the back.
Part of the 1%, bro.
You're part of the 1%. You are owner. So when you start making those type of comments and you don't clarify or give, well, this is what I'm really trying to say when I say this, and you give your background and your foundation to it, people are like, well, what you're really saying is it's these people. What they're doing is the reason why.
His
I'm like,
media
no.
team needs to be fired.
Well, does he have one?
I think he got caught up in an emotional
rant.
And I think his rant needs to be a little bit
and he
better
probably
organized.
Didn't have the proper team backing him up, because the reality is a lot of times when you have business people who are not generationally wealthy,
right?
It's like a family business, and sometimes although they come to certain levels of success, they still operate like a family business.
That's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
To his detriment.
And
he's lesson learned.
I mean, hopefully he learned it, because then people
his
are not.
His third quarter was hurting.
Yeah, I mean, but then people started going in, and
this is supposed to be his best. For what I've understand from the piece of business is that the third, fourth, and first quarter are what makes them. And I would always say
because
it's
second
sports.
Quarter.
But it's the sports, the overlapping of different sports.
Yes, football, basketball,
baseball.
Playoffs,
and
Super Bowl,
baseball, all that overlaps during those quarters.
We think about not just professional sports, but also on the high school and collegiate levels too. So all of that
school is in for those 9 months.
Yeah. Well, let's see, maybe he'll do better next time. Next year. So anyways, okay, now we had this other thing that happened. You heard about the young guys who went to China and supposedly got caught shoplifting. And this morning or yesterday morning, I guess 45 got into a little Twitter war with a Lonzo Ball.
He was doing good for 2 weeks.
He was doing so good. I think it's because he was
Twitter for 2 weeks, because he couldn't tweet in another country.
He definitely could tweet in China.
And
so he was not here. He was out of the country, but he came back with all this venom about this particular
His first tweet was already jacked up.
I was like, bro, it's like, come on now. Like, but I just want you to keep, like, don't personalize everything. Like, everything is not really about you. And then one of the things that was offensive to me is when he said, I wonder if they would apologize. I mean, or thank me for it. And I'm like,
well, when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, the only way they know how to think is everything is about them.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
And it's two narcissistic persons, because we're lambasting and castigating Trump, which we should, right? But LeVar Ball needs to sit down and shut up.
Exactly.
Well,
He does, because he sticks his noses in places, and he's hurt the perception of his boy. Even in the league right now, talking to league insiders, you know what I'm saying? He's hurt the perception of his boy. People don't want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And so sit down and hush, man. Now, yes, we have the freedom of speech. Yes, that is protected. But my gosh, use wisdom.
But this is the interesting thing about this story, and I don't.
Picking fights.
I'm trying to get more information about this, and maybe you have insight on this. I really don't know the information, but there's still one person still in China. There's still one young man still in China. Why wasn't he brought home?
I don't.
I want to know more about that, because there's still one there. So I wonder, is this a celebrity status?
Any information on the one person?
Yeah, I'm like, there was one left, and I'm like, so he's just sitting there waiting. I'm like, so is it? I mean, did you get? I don't know.
Yeah,
his mama didn't pay the bill.
That's
Gosh,
scary.
that is scary. And I mean, in this China, it's not. Anyways, So I do want to talk about something I think is, in line with the Thanksgiving spirit this week. And it's the guy from Florida who decided he was going to take all his winnings.
Yes, and start a real estate
empire to rebuild a city. And I just think that is so cool because this is not something, first of all, he's African American. Let's start there.
Yes.
And that's not typically the route we're known to do, to take $52 million and like, I'm going to rebuild a city, a small area in Florida.
The thing I loved about it is that he wasn't just going to rebuild like, oh, I'm going to build homes.
He's going to build businesses because he knows
that
that
money can grow inside the community. That's super smart.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I feel like he's like going back. What was it? In Oklahoma,
Black Wall Street.
Black Wall Street, and I'm like, that's amazing because this is Florida. And Florida is kind of sketchy in certain areas. So some areas of Florida will be considered thriving, while other areas are really dying.
Right.
They're really dying, and I'm glad that he's decided to go back, and I'm gonna use my winnings to help this community. I mean, because it's like I said, it's more than homes, because what is a home without, if you don't have commercial businesses there, then you're not going to ever get the money that's needed for the tax reinvestment. So I'm like, I love how he thought about that. That was really, because he didn't have to do that.
That's a prime example of group economics working. It's a prime of the money staying in the community and the money rebuilding the community. So shout out to that brother, man. Kudos, man.
Shout out. I'm excited for
seriously. That's really big.
It's like something I'm waiting.
Like I want to go down there and help out.
Like
seriously,
build a brick or pull a brick into a business.
That's cool. Really big.
That's really amazing. Now, on that same thought process, we're seeing a lot of changes with African American males, like this gentleman here, but it's more in hip hop. And this is like a two-parter. Jay-Z and Drake both together have done some really amazing things in the past week. Last week at Jay-Z's concert, he made it a point to pretty much let everyone know that we are not second-class citizens. And anybody that's been discriminated against, especially if you are a minority, it's not okay. And he went into this whole, I guess I call it a timely rant, where he's talking about, it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a human issue. And it's not okay for people to try to strip you of your rights. It's not okay for people to tell you can't, protest by kneeling. It's not okay. It's like, it's the not being able to protest by kneeling is the same as telling somebody they can't pray by kneeling. You know what I mean? Like it's your right. You have a right to do that. It's not offensive. And he really was like making a stand about it. And then shortly thereafter, like a couple of days after, we see Drake, and I think it was the iHeart Music Festival, and in Toronto, I think it was, and it's Sydney actually. There was a guy that was filling up a woman. He stopped and was like, "Hey." Yeah. I said, cut it out. Charge it out. He's like, if you don't stop it, I'm going to come down and F you up.
Yeah, he's going to fight him himself.
And I think it's great. Because it's a change in hip hop. We're seeing a change in ties. Like these guys, I'm not going to say historically, but we saw a shift from the 80s rap and hip hop, where we went from, Black Power rap hip hop to, we had our little gangster rap movement. And then we had this rap that was very, I don't know what the right word is, but it was miseducation, where it was like women had no value. We weren't talking about building our environments anymore. We weren't talking about,
and even the gangster rap was more so, it was a political protest.
It was a political protest.
What was going on? Absolutely. It wasn't gangster. I mean, when you had people like NWA with like,
EPMD,
EPMD,
they were doing
it
for,
like, look, police brutality.
It's not
cool.
With
it. Yeah.
I'm not with this. So
and we went away from that for a little bit.
We went up on the way.
And now we're coming back. It's coming back, and we're starting to see some things, and I'm really excited about it, because now we're starting to see hip hop reshape itself into more of a socially conscious thing where we really do care. And it took us a minute to get back here. I mean, what do you think was sustainable?
I think it is. With age comes wisdom, right? Yes. And so, there's nobody he say what you want. Jay's at the top of the throne when it comes to hip hop, right? Jay and Puff, they're at the top of the throne. So they're using their voice and their capes for good. Drake is an up and coming, and he's a guy that's respected and really revered in a number of different genres, because he's able to, starting from acting all the way to
it's a crossover guy.
Crossover guy. So I think it is sustainable. We have to realize that young guns are going to be young guns. At one point in time, I was a 22-year-old young, stupid, immature kid. You know what I'm saying? Doing stupid, immature stuff. So young guns with millions of dollars or with fame and stuff are going to go through that transition period. Yes. But I think it's sustainable because the OGs are doing it.
Yeah.
And the big homies are doing it.
And they're showing what should be done.
Exactly. They're modeling it.
And that's what I said. It's really great to see these guys doing it, because you have someone that's a little younger than Jay doing it, and you have Jay-Z, and and they're, like you said, he's on the top of his. They're both at the top of their game.
It's a generational tie between the two.
Yeah, they're definitely both at the top of their games. There was something really interesting else that actually went on, and I don't necessarily know if we're going to see this, how far this is going to go, but I know that we're in transition where the Democrats did call for 5 articles for impeachment. I'm not sure how that's going to evolve. I don't know if y'all have any insight on that or any thoughts about that, but I just thought it was interesting that we've got that far. There was talk about it. It hasn't even been a whole year yet.
Yeah.
But, the impeachable offense to them, they were saying, he's a threat, I guess, to national security in our democracy. And based upon some of the things they consider to be collusion with the Russia tie and all that, is that something that we think is going to be able to be withheld or to uphold in court? I don't know how this is going to work out.
Impeachment is very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to the process of being impeached and removed. Let me say it like that: being impeached and removed, because there are two different things. The distinction is impeachment are the allegations that are being levied formally, and the removal is them actually being kicked out of office, right? So the impeachment and removal process is a difficult one to go about historically when you see it. But it's hard for me to see it because Trump has done, in the 50 years he's been in business, a masterful job in covering his tracks.
Yeah, because he has a lot of fall people around him.
Right. Well, I mean, regardless of why, he's done a masterful job in covering his tracks.
Yeah.
And so if we live in a culture, you can speak to this, Kira, better than I can, in terms of a burden of proof. We live in a culture that the accuser has the burden of proof.
Absolutely.
And so if the government is going to levy these accusations against him, it's hard. They got to find something to corroborate it.
Yeah, and
that's not circumstantial or hearsay.
And the issue is, it's almost
because common sense don't really fly in the courtroom. You got to prove it, right?
Right.
And it's common sense that he had something to do with Russia.
Right. I mean, obviously, right. But it's more of who are the people that were signing off on stuff, and those people. It's almost like check fraud. Like whoever signed off on it is the person who's going to get they're coming for. They're not going to come for possibly the person that gave you the checks, because there's no way to prove that they gave you the checks. It's all hearsay. But you signed your little name on it or whatever it was, or your handprint is on it. You're the person. And so unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with the situation. I thought it was interesting to even mention, because I'm like, this is a step in the process. I'm not going to say it's a step forward or a step backwards. This is a step in the process, because I think it's a bold move.
I agree.
That it's coming so early in the president's term. I think there was something. I think Representative Al Green actually said that, Congressman Al Green actually said that, when he was calling for impeachment, a lot of people say, why can't you just wait till the next presidential election, just let it ride? He was like, no, this can't ride. And so I think it's going to take a little bit more time for everyone to the majority to get on the same page.
Exactly.
Not necessarily everyone have to get on the same, but the majority have to get on the same.
Traditionally, impeachment has never been a easy tie-in. If you just look at history, anytime anyone was up for an impeachment, it was never just like an immediate process. It all took time.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
And you can speak to this.
It's just now that everything is just, now everything is so in your face.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it. And we expect the reality is that politics is not microwavable like our society has become. And so people in this world, in this society, they make the assumption that politics has trended the same way technology has trended, and that's just not the reality.
It's not. And
it won't be the reality.
No.
Washington won't allow it. You can speak to that.
Yeah, Washington
for years they would not allow it.
I'm gonna tell you, I was a lobbyist long enough to know that the changes will take decades.
Yeah. And that's what's
sometimes generations.
That's scary.
Because that's just the reality.
You can make one decision this quickly, but it takes so time to undo it.
A POWER. It's bigger than money. I'm telling you. Bigger than it.
It's the haves and have-nots,
right?
It really is.
The haves and have-nots. Okay, so real quickly, and I just thought this was interesting as well. have y'all, I don't, I mean, this is more like hip hop culture, but it also talks about the justice system. The story about Meek Mill, I think some of y'all heard about how Meek Mill was wrongly imprisoned. He was put in solitary confinement. There were some things that, he needed to, pretty much the judge was saying that he wanted him to pretty much drop his contract with Roc Nation, sign with another label, put her name on a song, shout her out, and all of a sudden he was all like, is she serious? And he was like, are you serious? It's a ridiculous accusation, but if it's provable, it's provable, right? And so is this on the court record? So after all of this happened, he was put in solitary confinement for what they could have a trumped up charge because, and it's so funny, it's called a trumped up charge, right? A trumped up charge.
It is a trumped up charge.
It's a trumped up charge because the prosecutor and the probation officer both said, we do not recommend jail time. This is something that he doesn't have to go to jail for. The judge made the decision, which made it worse.
Yes.
Because I'm like, the judge makes this decision to put this man in solitary confinement and put him in jail for 2 to 4 years, which is crazy. He was recently transferred to the general population, which is great, but it's not a win, right? And not a total victory. What's going on with the balance of power here? Because a judge, I've clerked in some courts when I was younger. The judge does have power, right? Mm-hmm. But who's actually there to make sure that they don't usurp their power? Like, what's going on there? Like, this is too much. This is too much. He says no to something and he gets this.
And that's one, in my former life, just like Crystal, I was a political science professor. So a lot of my
former life,
a lot of my students would ask me, they felt, and they would make a very good assertion, a very good claim that they felt like that. Yeah, there's checks and balances, but the least checks and balances are
in the justice system.
In the justice system, and that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And it's and like I was just saying before, the unfortunate side to it is that it has always been that way. Mm-hmm. And because I always have to remind people that you expect a justice system that's not just, that was the same justice system that enslaved you to now free you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't mean free you from change, but I mean free you to actually have the liberties that you think you have.
Right.
And that's scary. That's scary and unfortunate on so many levels.
And so Meek is a victim of that, honestly, right now. He's a victim of that. And so where I don't know where the balance lies. I have no idea.
No, this is what's the unintended consequences of a judge who has decided, I think personally, I'm not in the courtroom, so I can't say, but a judge who I think who has allowed himself to not be impartial.
Yeah,
the way
he's allowed bias to creep in.
And that's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate. This is what makes the story even
weirder.
But
at the same time, Meek Mills did violate his parole.
He did.
He violated several times. But then what makes it, the flip of that is the probation officer and the parole officer, prosecutor were like, it does not require jail time.
But and at the same time, I think and I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Oh, sure, for sure.
Let's do it.
Just saying this. Just using it as example, like my brother was in the same situation. My brother, who is not Meek Mills,
obviously
does not have a record out.
No records.
Is serving 25 to life
and
from a probation violation.
And that's extreme, though.
And it's extreme, but the reality is that he violated his parole.
Right.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
But now let me ask you.
Same way Meek Mill did.
Okay, let me ask you this though: was his probation or parole, was it a violent offense, or was it anything that put someone's life in danger? And the reason why
the reality is both of them are nonviolent offense, both Meek Mills and my brother. So
my issue, and that's why I don't practice criminal law. So, but that's part of my issue. It seems like it's a heavy weight put on parole and probation violations, and it only affects minorities. We see so although there might be a violation, I think with the prosecutor and with the probation officer was like, we can fix this a different way. Right. It does not have to be this. We can be more blank. And I think if we start seeing a turn in how we I guess put out some of these, what's supposed to be a deterrent or these penalties, we'll start seeing a little bit more people, we'll start seeing a response that's a little different. And I was like, and it was interesting to me because the judge was an African-American and it was a woman. And some of the things she was requesting just seemed to come out of left field. Yeah. And I wonder where that came from. Yeah. And there's so many layers to this story. Yeah. And I was like, yes, it wasn't 25 years, but 2 to 4 years of anybody in solitary confinement was her initial thing. Exactly. We know what happens to people in solitary confinement. Yeah. Yes. It's not healthy.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
To 1 week. One day.
One week is from a psychological standpoint, is synonymous to lifetime.
Yeah,
of
because
solitary
you have
confinement,
nobody.
'cause they mentally lose capacity.
And I think, but I'm saying, she knew that.
Yeah, she knows that.
Because
for sure.
to break someone down, for them to say yes, that's the goal, right? If I can get them to say yes to one request, then I have power.
Yes. And
So
that's just another example
So that's unfortunate.
of narcissism.
It's a lot of it. I mean, we kind of
pray for this
jumped
world,
over, we jumped over a few things, but I want to just hit those stories.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Shout out to Swiss Beats.
Well, I was gonna go there.
Yeah.
I was to shout out to Colin Kaepernick too, because I was like his little GQ shoot that pissed a lot of people off.
And I'm so here for.
He specifically incorporated African American, minority designers and women designers.
Absolutely.
He was intentional about that, and he made sure that the people at GQ didn't give him anything less than that. And so, shout out to him for that. Shout out to Swiss Beats for Harvard graduation.
Absolutely,
because
Exactly.
he committed to it. He didn't, he actually went to school.
And
y'all.
I'm about to say he went to school, y'all.
Yeah,
He didn't
go
go
to a
online.
certificate program.
He actually went.
online. He
Stayed in the dorm
actually
his
went
first
to
semester.
school.
Yeah.
Boston, y'all. He was not in New York, y'all.
In a town that don't like us.
Yeah,
Boston.
And
I mean, that's just
Doing an interesting time.
Yeah.
an interesting,
just keep it
interesting time. And our condolences is to the families of Della Reese, who passed away last night.
Yes.
She's been, a mainstay on TV
Listen,
and movies. She's been
drank
around.
The swallow in the container.
The swallow in the
It's
container.
gone. The
That
swallow in
orange
the
juice.
container
The
is
final
gone,
swallow
y'all.
in the
It's
container.
gone.
And let's keep
And Paul and the grandpa from the Cosby Show.
and him
Yes.
too, the grandpa from the Cosby Show. Y'all don't remember him, but he was a nice, handsome gentleman. handsome gentleman.
Play that trombone.
He
Play
did.
that
He
trombone.
did.
Y'all
When they
remember
did a
that?
little
He played that
dance
trombone,
thing.
baby.
Why? And I don't know his name, but
I'm about to go
our
Google it.
condolences to him. And also, let's keep Reverend Jesse Jackson in our thoughts and prayers, because he just told everyone he has Parkinson's disease. Yeah. And so that's something that, it's definitely interesting when we see someone go to something that debilitating, and we know about it. So just wanted to keep that, as our society is changing and morphing, and some of our fourth leaders and persons in arts, entertainment, and politics are, going their route. We just want to make sure everyone knows the transition is happening.
Yeah, indeed.
Transition is happening.
Listen, Turkey Day is coming up.
Turkey Day is
coming
come on,
up.
dressing.
And here at the Sphere, we want everybody to have an amazing, happy, and wonderful Thanksgiving. Kick it with your fam, eat turkey, get fat and full, but make sure you go to Pilates or spin, or you go go holler at Crystal.
Jog.
Go jog
Go
something on Friday morning, because you took your day off on Friday too to recover, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we want you to be safe. We want you to have a great time. Crystal, what will you be doing?
Well, there's turkey trot.
Yeah, you try. Yeah, of course.
That's
I
another
don't
thing
know
she
why I
doing.
asked that. I
It's
should
a
have done.
5K and a
Yeah,
10K
it is a
here.
It's
It's
okay.
on Thanksgiving morning.
So this is
Right.
week 4, y'all. This is week 4.
No. So this one doesn't count because it's just a.
It's just a 5K. It's just 3.8 miles.
No, I'm doing the 10K.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's 7.8, but 7.4,
How
whatever
does that
it is.
not
I forgot what it
count?
is.
No, because
Because she does 27,000 miles a month. That's why it don't
How
count.
does that not count? This
so I'll be
counts
turkey
every day.
trotting.
That's
But basically, and really just encouraging others to make the commitment to move, not just starting on New Year's Day.
Okay.
I try to
Exactly.
encourage people to start moving and really do it with family, because Thanksgiving is a time that we're around family, and so I try to encourage participation of the family. Like before you eat and kick it and do
Yeah.
all that, go out and walk.
Go work up an
The
appetite.
cool part about it is that all the families are out there, and you
Turkey
see baby
trotting.
strollers and kids, and they have a kids 1K, and those kids look hilarious because they take off running for about 2 blocks, but it's just a beautiful thing and they get little medals, and so just to see the kids' faces and the parents be able to participate in that, and really just encourage what it is to have a healthy lifestyle as a family unit.
We might turkey trot this year. We'll think about
So
it if it ain't too
it's
crazy.
a real good thing. And for me,
You want a turkey trot, Janae? I know you want a turkey
Because
trot.
the running community has become my family, and that's the reality.
Come on, running community. Well, you
Yes.
might see us out there trotting.
Yeah.
Might with some feathers.
Well,
There's some costumes out there. Don't get it
I
twisted. It's a
know.
guy that literally comes out there every year, and he's actually Native American, and he has the full-fledged,
Oh, that's
the
beautiful.
feathers, the
headdress,
everything, the
yeah.
headdress, the little skirt.
I love it.
Everything.
That's
I love
He's
it.
in
That's
it.
dope.
I love it. I like it.
I just trying to figure
Well-
out how you do it for 6 miles.
it's about that time. It's about that time. Listen, make sure that you tune in, not this Thursday, because just for gentlemen, we will not record this Thursday on Thanksgiving because we're going to be kicking it with our wives and babies. Shout out to my co-host, Brandon Montgomery, and his wonderful, beautiful wife, Heather Montgomery, and their newest addition to their family. And shout out to your wonderful co-host.
My wonderful co-host. She's not here, but shout out to Allison as she's having her Thanksgiving week kickoff this weekend. So shout out to her. And thank you guys for tuning in. Again, my name is Kira Laws. You can follow me on Instagram at The Modern Day Cindy.
I'm Kaylin Laws. Follow me on all social media outlets. Senor Wapo 713 SENORGUAPO.
Oh my goodness. Did y'all get that? And we have Crystal Hadnott.
And I'm Crystal Hadnott, and I can be found on all social media outlets as well.
I love
Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all at crystalhadnott.com, and that's CRYSTALHADNO 2 T's.
Get the book, man.
And get the book. The finish line was just the start on crystalhadnott.com.
And if y'all in Houston, join her at the Turkey Trot on Thursday.
Join me at the Turkey Trot. Give me a shout out. I want to see your face.
All right, then. Thank you, guys. See you next week.